question on today's show is, what does Baltimore do with Mark Andrews? Now, I want to preface this by saying whether or not he would have caught that two-point conversion, whether or not they won that game, this was going to be a topic of discussion the second the offseason hit because of all the financials involved. We'll get to those in just a little bit. But, guys, I want you to show me down below. If you just want both teams to lose the AFC Championship, like the video. I know it's impossible. I know there's no way that can happen. But I'm looking at those two teams, Bills, Chiefs, and I'm saying I'd rather gouge my eyes out than watch either one of those teams go to the Super Bowl and even win a Super Bowl. So if you want both of them to lose, I don't know how that happens, but I think it's more likely to happen if you like the video. So I want to start this episode by talking a little bit about Gianna's tweet from yesterday. So it was locker clean out, and that's when a lot of the players speak, right? You heard from Rashad Bateman. You heard from Zay Flowers. You heard from Ronnie Stanley. You heard from a ton of players. It's the last kind of open media session until OTAs. However, tight end Mark Andrews did not show up to locker cleanout and also was not available after the game. That's the last chance to talk to him this season until OTAs, right? So I get it. He's upset. He's bummed. But he's not making himself available to talk to anybody. And it kind of has me wondering, what's his situation going to be into this offseason, and what's his situation going to be before the 2025 season? Let's look at the financials, okay? So he is entering a contract year in 2025. He's set to earn $11 million, a $5.9 million of dead cap hit, a $16.9 million cap hit, and a $4 million roster bonus due on March 16th. And I don't know about you guys, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way about this, but in my opinion, for a guy who dropped what would have been a game-tying two-point conversion, and a guy who fumbled the ball at a crucial point in the fourth quarter when you are driving to possibly take the lead, in my humble opinion, that's a lot of money, okay? That's a lot of money for a guy who in his career has not been very clutch in the playoffs, has not been very clutch in the postseason, has not been very clutch when this team, when that quarterback, when this franchise needs the most, okay? Before we take a deeper dive into any of this, I want to hear from you guys. Will Mark Andrews be back in 2025? Give me a yes, give me a no in the comment section down below. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. No worries, stay calm, go down to the comment section, find this pinned comment, and reply with a yes or a no. So another question is this team better off with him gone? Because we talked about what he's set to make, but now we're going to dive into what Baltimore is set to get back if they cut him loose, okay? He's a $16 million cap hit. We already talked about that. Baltimore can save $11 million if Mark Andrews is cut or if Mark Andrews is traded. Okay, and that's why I said what I said in the beginning. This was going to be a topic of discussion whether he caught that pass or not. But the fact that he dropped it, you're looking at that $11 million, and I think we're all saying to ourselves, I don't know, man, $11 million. That's some nice change, right? That's a good situation. You cut loose from Mark Andrews, get some money back, and I just think that sets this franchise, I think that sets this team up for a little bit of a better future. I think there's just more things that you can do with that money if he is off this team, if he is cut, if he is traded, okay? So coming up in just a little bit, I'm going to talk about why the Ravens might want him gone, right? What that $11 million might do for this team in 2025. But before I do any of that, I got to talk about our sponsor, our great friends over at Prize Picks. And you know what, guys? The big game is almost here, and it's now or never. So don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks. It's the best place to win cash while watching the big game. Prize Picks is also giving away a free pick for the big game, where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw 1 yard to win. If you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need a win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And you can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. So check out the promos tab to tail any of our super sweet Millie winners, big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. We got the NFC Championship game coming up this weekend, and I got some Prize Picks for you. I get the more on Jayden Daniels' pass yard. All he has to do is get 1 yard. That square will win. I have the more on both A.J. Brown and Terry McLaurin touchdowns. Think both of those receivers find the end zone at least one time in Sunday's game. So you guys can tail my picks. You can fade my picks. Just make sure you're using our friends at Prize Picks. And download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, run your game. So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but let's take an even bigger look at it, a broader look at it, at almost all of the free agents that Baltimore has going into this offseason. Pat Ricard, Ronnie Stanley, Ardarius Washington, Nelson Agholor, Tylan Wallace, Patrick McCarry, Ben Cleveland, Malik Harrison, Tre'Davious White, and Brandon Stevens. And in my opinion, of those 10 names, there's 2 guys on that list that I believe are most important for this team. I believe that's Ronnie Stanley, and I believe that's Ardarius Washington. Okay, I think that this team, this franchise needs to go into this offseason saying, we need both of these guys still on this roster when the 2025 season kicks off. But here's the question, okay? Talking about Ronnie Stanley, talking about Ardarius Washington, do you take the $11 million from what would happen if you cut or trade Mark Andrews? Do you take that $11 million, put it in the Ronnie Stanley fund, and just roll with Isaiah Likely from here on out? It's an interesting question. It's an interesting thing to talk about because all of this is based on what happened in the playoffs. And so far in Mark Andrews' career, he hasn't been good in the playoffs, okay? 8 games played, 39.4 yards a game, 0 touchdowns, 1 fumble, and 8 drops. He's averaging a drop a game. He dropped the ball twice in massive moments on Sunday. One of them, the very next play, was a fumble from Lamar Jackson. I know you can't put that on Mark Andrews, but if Mark Andrews caught the ball, would have been first down, fresh set of downs. Lamar probably wouldn't have fumbled it. Okay, I know. We're going deep in the weeds there. But then he dropped a 2-point conversion. Okay, 8 drops in 8 career playoff games. And then you look at the other option, Isaiah Likely, and he had a great regular season. But you look at what he's done in the playoffs, and through 4 games, he's just flat out been better than Andrews has. 44 yards a game. He's found the end zone twice. 0 fumbles and 0 drops. Okay, so now you have yourself, and you're asking this question. Do we just roll with Likely? Do we take the $11 million? But then you have to pose the other side of that argument, and you say, but a lot of times, Isaiah Likely's success probably comes from him not being the tight end one on this team. It probably comes from teams having to deal with Mark Andrews. Okay? So there's a yin and yang to this. There's 2 sides to this argument that Likely's done great, but Likely's probably done great and a lot of great stuff this season because Mark Andrews is also there. So I need you guys to do something for me. I need you to be DeCosta. Be Eric DeCosta. Let me know in the comment section down below, what would you do with Mark Andrews? Would you trade him? Would you cut him? Or would you keep him? Let me know in the comment section down below. I hate to say it, guys, but I would probably trade him. And I want to preface that statement by saying Mark Andrews is one of the GOATs of this franchise. He's the all-time leader in receiving touchdowns. He's done so much for this team. He's been an absolute beast. He had an incredible season after a brutal injury last year. To come back, to do all that stuff, I've been so appreciative of Mark Andrews. You've been so appreciative of Mark Andrews. But just the money makes sense. It just seems like it makes sense. Okay, and our Broncos host talked about this yesterday because they're in need of a tight end, and this was the trade idea that he proposed. Broncos get Mark Andrews, Broncos get a 7th-round pick, and then the Ravens receive a 4th-round pick, okay? And so you look at that and you say, get a 4th-rounder, that's great, but then you pair it with $11 million saved? Honestly, guys, you could sign me up for that. You can sign me up for that any day of the week. But also, I'm not opposed to, I'm not making the stance of if they don't trade him, if they don't cut him, that this team is stupid. If they don't trade him, if they don't cut him, 2025 is going to be a wash of a season, okay? If they don't trade him, if they don't cut him, I'd say, you know what? Let's just run it back. That's okay. That's their decision. But I'm also saying if I was DeCosta, I think I'd let him hit the trade block because I think the future, plain and simple, is this guy right here, okay? Just he has a different kind of ability with the ball in his hands than Mark Andrews does. Okay, I get it. Mark Andrews is a great tight end. But Isaiah Likely, he can move like a wide receiver. Okay, his catch radius, in my opinion, is bigger. His athletic prowess, in my opinion, that ceiling is higher. 477 yards, 6 touchdowns on the season, 42 receptions. His season took a little bit of a dip after that opening game against Kansas City. He never quite had the same game. But still, man, I think this guy's the future, and I think that's why, if I'm DeCosta, I think Mark Andrews is hitting the trade block. So pick one for me. If you had to pick out of the two of them, would you go with Mark Andrews? Would you go with Isaiah Likely? Let me know in that comment section down below. Type MA for Mark Andrews. Type IL for Isaiah Likely. Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Really do appreciate it. This has been the Ravens Rundown. We'll be live later today if you are still watching. Now I think about it. Probably should have put something earlier in this video about it. But regardless, we're going to be live 5 o'clock Eastern time, me and producer Jack. So come hang out with us then. I'll see y'all later.